The exhaust on our C10 essentially is going to start at the turb skis, travel down on top of the motor, kick down and go underneath the rocker panels because this is not a rock crawler. So the nice thing is I'll be able to mount these mufflers just on the side underneath the truck. They're not going to be in the rocks with this vehicle. So they're going to be cool. You'll be able to see them. Be lots of fun. Now, whenever you're working with stainless, there's a few things that you need to keep track of. So number one, obviously, you're going to need a TIG welder. So in this case here, I'm using my Rebel AC/DC. Now, this is a multi-process machine. So this is MIG, TIG, stick. This particular version is the AC/DC, so I can do AC TIG and DC TIG. So to weld your stainless exhaust, you're going to be operating in DC TIG. The next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get one of these oversized cups. Now, this oversized cup, I believe, is a 16, I think is what this one is. Now, what that will do is it'll just improve the gas coverage while I am welding. Another thing you can get is a back purge system. So in essence, what we're going to do is we would fill this pipe with argon out of the cylinder. And this is what I use for back purging. This is just an extra line. This actually screws into the O2 sensor in the exhaust and has just a little quick connect fitting to connect it. It also acts as a heat sink when you're welding in the bungs for the O2 sensor so they don't get overheated and distorted. The most important thing I can teach you about welding stainless is to make sure that you focus on your arc length. You want to keep the tip of your tungsten incredibly sharp, and you're going to want to keep it very close to the weld, almost just touching the weld puddle. If you do that, you'll end up with those really nice sort of like rainbow colors like you see on our exhaust from Valvetronic Designs right here. You keep it nice and close like that, won't contaminate, won't gray out, and give you the look that you want. When you're building exhaust, you don't necessarily have to add a bunch of filler rod because we're not really building a structural weld here. We're just trying to seal up the exhaust doesn't get out. So if your gaps are good enough, you should just be able to what's called fusion weld the exhaust. That basically means just making a puddle and basically melting, in this case, the V-band into the pipe, and that'll work just fine. Before doing any stainless welding, you want to clean the joint with a little bit of acetone. I like to use acetone and some Scotch-Brite, just to make sure it's good and clean.
This build for off-road welding tip of the trade is brought to you by ESAB.